Back whenever we were playing as Aegon, the first, maybe not the first King Aegon, but the Aegon that created the Empire of the Woods, Aelix's grandfather. Whenever I think about him, speaking of which, his wife is still alive and currently imprisoned. It's kind of weird. Anyways, when I think about what he did, I think about like the way the woods used to look and how much I liked that, and how I never ever thought that I would like to see the borders the way that they are now, being such a big kingdom. But I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it. It looks good. It looks nice and robust. I never really knew that I could appreciate the borders extending coast to coast in the way that they are, and I've kind of liked the borders at every iteration, and it's still not my plan to keep everything the way that it is in the long run. I think that as we come to the end of the story of the Kingdom of the Woods, it makes sense for us to kind of press forward and have the borders the way they are right now. It's just the way things will end up in the future. It'll all depend on what we're doing right now. But I have appreciated the borders kind of at every stage of the game, and now that I'm looking at it right now, I do like it. I like the way it looks, and I didn't really think that I would say that. Now, whenever we switch over to direct vassals view, I like all this. Don't get me wrong. It's this right here. This right here I have an issue with. And so today we're going to take care of this. We're going to fix it. And we're going to do that in the best way possible, I think. I have some plans in mind. Give me just a second. I'll explain it. Let me roll the intro. So the plan to divide the reach, really, it's a plan that I've had in mind for a long time. As soon as we made the decision to conquer the reach, I began thinking about these things. We have some stuff to sort out with the Southwoods, but I'm thinking we're going to divide the reach into two unique kingdoms, and that'll give us an opportunity to incorporate two new characters into the story, which we'll have an opportunity to do, I think, pretty well. And we talked about this in the last episode with Patreon, but the characters will have they're from that specifically, and I'll discuss that more as we kind of get close to it. But this is what our task is today, to kind of figure out how the reach is going to be divided, and then also kind of how the rest of the world falls into place. And once we have that done, I think we can actually we can begin conquering maybe the rest of Dorne and all that kind of stuff as well. So there's a lot to think about moving forward, but this is a good thing for us to at least have in mind as we're moving in the right direction. I think there's a bunch of different things that a bunch of different factors that kind of play into things here, and it makes sense for us to really do a good job of moving along the line. So I digress. It's time for us to sort this out. I'm going to stop talking now, and I hope you guys enjoy whenever we come back. Welcome back, my friends. I had it in mind to record all this as a time lapse, and I did. I had about 30 to 45 minutes of footage of me, taking, as we've done in the past, the same formula as what we've done in the past. And all of that is, for some reason, only showing the title screen of CK2 for 30 minutes. And you just hear me clicking in the background. So there's nothing I can do with that footage. I hate it when crap like that happens, because there's nothing I wasn't playing on the title screen. Obviously, I was working within the game, so I don't know exactly what happened with that. So here we are, and my plan right now is to kind of explain how the borders ended up and the landscape before we get into the before we get into the characters. And so this is where we've ended up. We have it. I ended up using the titular kingdom of the Golden Grove for the northern kingdom of the Reach, in the same way that I used the kingdom of Castamere for the Cliffs. So Golden Grove is right here. It stretches from the south of the Goldwoods to the eastern border, or the western border of the Southwoods, but its eastern border lies along that line, and then it runs along the Reach, the edge of the Reach, along this river right here. So the only thing that I don't like about it, the only thing that I'm struggling with, is you have these little juts off, because they're not those particular counties straddle the river here. Like the High Garden kind of straddles the river in how it flows, so it kind of eats into the Golden Grove a little bit. But in the same way, these two counties over here straddle the river as well. There's really nothing I can do about that. That's just the way the map works. But I want to hear your opinion. I want to know what you think about that down in the comment section. It bothers me a little bit, but the more I look at it, the less it bothers me, I guess. Now the Golden Grove is kind of going to be this northern kingdom, but it also incorporates the Shield Isles over here. So it has some island factors to it, in the same way that the southern kingdom of the Reach, it's only called the Reach right now. We'll end up changing that, I'm sure, at some point, but how it has the Arbor down here. Which brings us to this southern kingdom right here, the Reach. I'm not sold on it, only because it kind of has this phallic shape to it. And now that I've seen that, I can't stop seeing that. If y'all think that's hilarious and want me to keep it, I'm happy to do so. Like I said, I'm not sold on it 100% right now. So we'll have to see. I want to know what you guys think. Be easy. I don't want to get hit with any kind of like YouTube strike or anything like that. But yeah, I digress. It's a little weird to look at. But it composes the southern half of the Reach Kingdom, and eventually it will probably incorporate Old Town and also this county down here for sure. I'm not sure what we're going to do about Old Town yet. I thought about making that the capital, to be honest with you, and just having High Garden be part of Golden Grove, but the only problem is colonizing that, and I didn't want to cheat the system and just give myself the title. So if we're going to colonize it, it's going to take a long time, obviously, to colonize, and it's going to kind of be a money pit. We can do it, don't get me wrong. I want to know what you think. I don't really like the fact that there's a ruin in the middle of the kingdom, or not in the middle, but I mean in the kingdom, and so that's one tick in the positive for us to maybe go about colonizing it. I don't know about making it the capital or anything, but we had kind of talked about this in the last episode, maybe making it, instead of like a monument to originally this is where the Citadel is. And so kind of having it be a monument to the old gods, and also housing the Citadel where the Maesters are, that kind of thing. I don't know. Well, I'll have to see. Prince's Pass. This is kind of an interesting feature, because I was going to originally make this a kingdom, but I don't have a character that I know for sure I'm going to put in power there yet. So it's a little different. I'm going to make my decision on that. I want to spend this episode talking about these two characters, and then in the next episode, in the next few episodes, we'll bring in this character right here. But I want to make sure I give credence to these two for the time being. So I've made it. It encompasses two high lordships, or one high lordship, and then a couple of different counties right here for the Prince's Pass. But eventually, this is going to be what takes over Dorne. And there was some suggestions about making two different kingdoms, and I kind of like that, actually. The problem is Dorne's not very big, so I'm going to have to think about how the dividing line, like these are going to be weaker kingdoms because Dorne's not very big. But it all depends on how everything works out with it. So for the time being, this is just one high lordship, and it's sworn directly to Aelix. and I feel like that's the best method for right now while we're waiting to introduce that character. It's not sworn to any kingdom directly. That way I still have direct control over it without having to exploit the console too much in the future. So that's where we're at right now. So Alex has made this decision to divide the kingdoms in two, but he's also restored this border of the Southwoods, which I feel is really important. You know, it's Byford has been absorbed back into the Southwoods, and then we've given it this kind of almost direct as you can get in this version of CK2 with the dividing lines, but this almost direct southern border all the way to where this tributary kind of runs off and incorporates Appleton right here. So, and then juts up with the Stormwoods. I like the way that looks. I like the borders here of the Southwoods. It kind of matches the Stormwoods, and these are our, especially with the Den, the Bear's Claw, the Redwoods, these are our larger kingdoms. The smaller kingdoms are actually over here in the west, it looks like, just size-wise. But these are kind of our ancient houses, ancient as much as this series has gotten ancient, and they kind of incorporate the different lords that have been around for a really long time. The Northwoods is still divided. We need to take care of that, and we will. It'll happen. I swear it will. And I need to get rid of this little pockmark right here. I really don't know how I'm going to do that because this is just kind of weird. It's time to incorporate a new character there. But as I said, this episode is about these two, which is what we're getting to. So, if you will, allow me. Give me just a moment. I'm gonna cut here. We're gonna go and we're gonna discuss these characters. I'm gonna give the Golden Grove a different color to kind of differentiate it a little bit more from the Goldwoods. It's not gonna stay that color, obviously. I did want to say this though. The names are ultimately going to be in control of the Lords Paramount, but I would love to hear your suggestions. I think it's important for us to get as many suggestions as possible so I can talk to these guys and make sure that everything is good with how they want their kingdoms to be named. And then the colors obviously are well within the control of them. So yeah, but I do want to hear suggestions. So please leave a comment down below if you have suggestions for names for the Reach or the Golden Grove, and then hopefully we can manage to get everything put together for them to be able to have this kind of really good-looking addition to the Kingdom of the Woods. But give me just a second. Let's go. Let's meet these characters. I kind of like this. Not a huge fan of the purple color necessarily, but I don't know, it's kind of grown on me. There's nothing else really like it in the Kingdom of the Woods. It all depends on what our first Lord Paramount thinks of it, and let's go ahead and meet him. It is Lord Paramount Adrian of Golden Grove, and his house is House Cousland, and this is their sigil. At least I believe it's the sigil. I have a slight hint of doubt, so if it's not, please send me a message. I'll make sure I take care of it. It'll be important for me to take care of. So I'm going to read through his traits, and then we'll read through his backstory so you know who he is and how he came to be in this position. So a dutiful commander, so not a bad commander, but knows how to command men. And this is also plays into the fact that he's authoritative. He's a natural-born leader, and has proven that throughout his life. He's a formidable fighter who is brave. He's diligent, humble. He's honorable, and he's now content. He's content to serve and work humbly for the things that he has. So let me pull up his backstory really quick, and I can read it to you. Let's see. Here it is. So Adrian's a former slave, growing up in the fighting pits. Initially, he was thrown in to be killed quickly, but he showed himself to be a superb fighter, a formidable fighter, if you will. He eventually led a revolt in the fighting pits, escaping to Westeros. He began living in the streets of Golden Grove, doing honest work for the local populace, experiencing a real culture for the first time, hence why his culture has become first man. After talking to the local priest, he was convinced of the old god's presence in his life, and then also in the world around him. And it was the old gods that broke him free of his chains. So He also believes that it was the old gods that called him to Westeros to fulfill a specific purpose. At the same time, years of mistreatment from the local lord caused a peasant revolt to break out in Golden Grove. And this is also plays into the same time frame in which Aelix was organizing a revolt to capture and take hold of all of the Reach. So these peasants naturally saw who Adrian was and chose him to lead them in this time of chaos. One, for his fighting experience, and then also for just the fact that he has a kind nature about him. They saw him as an exemplary ruler, kind and just. Adrian saw this revolt as a higher purpose brought to him by the old gods, and he humbly accepted their request. Adrian strategically outmaneuvered the Lord's generals with an inexperienced army and eventually overtook the castle, winning the war. After all of this, when Aelix came to propose and have all the lords swear allegiance to him, Adrian naturally bowed humbly and offered his newfound lordship to the High King. And as a result, Aelix saw his humility, Aelix saw his nature, and knew that he would be a really good leader, and thus granted him the kingdom of the Golden Grove, or whatever else it shall be called. Adrian promised to treat all of those under his protection honorably and fair. So that is a new look at the Lord Paramount Adrian of House Cousland. I'm actually going to make him a special interest character so we get updates about him. I think he's going to do really well. I really do. I think he's going to do really well for himself here in the Golden Grove. He's going to have a little bit of difficulty kind of overcoming how everything came about, but he's going to have a much easier time than our friend down here, Lord Paramount Auroran of House Herenese. I think I'm pronouncing that correct, and I know the sigil is probably not correct. I chose this for a specific purpose. Let's and I'm more than willing to change it if we need to. So let's take a look down here at his traits, and then we'll get into his story as well. So he has a great eminence. He is a master of intrigue and diplomacy, a smooth talker. He is shrewd and gregarious, but he's also a good fighter. He's a skilled fighter. He's shrewd. He has this nature about him, but he's a duelist and also a strategist. So in spite of the fact that he is weak, he's still able to command armies very well and also be a pretty good fighter. And all of this kind of plays into his story as well, but he is also a liberator for purposes that you will see in just a moment. See, Auroran was the seventh son of a noble in Tyrosh. Knowing that he would never have any lands of his own to rule, he grew to hate his home. He hated slaves, he hated the money, he hated the trios. He thought, who needs them? He would use his frustration within his home. He would use all of that frustration to fight, to practice with the sword. Though he was physically weak, he's a good fighter. And instead of strength, he used cunning, his shrewdness, and his strategy to win duels. On Auroran's 15th name day, he noticed a slave being harassed. Being the good man Auroran is, he went to help this slave woman. Her name was Daisy, an Andal woman. Auroran began to fall in love with her, and she would tell him great stories of her home, and all of this was very intriguing to Auroran. Her stories brought the faith of the Seven to him, and he believed, and he was very joyful in all of that. One day, Auroran's father found out about his relationship with her, and he had her killed. Auroran swore to fight against slavery in honor of his late lover, the Lady Daisy. Auroran left his home and became a sellsword. Eventually, he became it was a merchant family in Lys, the house Herenese or Hortoris hired him as their bodyguard. They had disdain for slaves as well, which made him happy to aid them in their cause. Auroran took a liking to their child, who he took as a ward, and all of this led him to travel to Westeros in search of glory and in search of honor, and to use his skills. And in the midst of all the chaos of everything happening with the Reach, the people rallied around this man of great diplomacy and named him as their leader. And also Aelix took a liking to him, and thus, the rest is history. Now here we have Lord Paramount Auroran of the Reach, and I think there's going to end up being some changes here. Sebas, let me know what you think. I'm always interested to hear from you, so let me know what you think about it, about your character, and about how he's making sure. I know that was part of that is also influencing the Knights of Andalos series, so let me know about all that. That may change. His character may change a little bit, but we'll have to end up seeing. So, but he is of the Tyroshi culture, which is why he has the hair that he does. I don't think I got the appearance 100% correct, so I'll fix that if we need to. But I believe that's the right character for this. And if not, we'll be introducing a new character next time. So things have kind of gotten overrun with character creation and all that kind of stuff, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I absolutely love it. But it just takes a little bit of extra time on my part, sifting through everything and making sure everything's done correctly, if you will. So here we are. It's time for us to decide on our new council and move forward as a united kingdom of the woods, and a united empire, and to rally our forces against this new Lady Paramount, Nuala, the Tyrant of the Neck. Let's take a look and see if we still have our truce with her. We have a truce with the North. We do not have a truce. Awesome. We do not have a truce with the Lady of Greywater Watch. So can we offer her vassalization? We can. We can't declare war. We need Cassius Bailey, which means we need to wait a little bit. So, This is exciting times in the Kingdom of the Woods, but that's our next step. We're going to claim Greywater Watch and round out this border, and then we're going to claim the Fingers and the Sisters on the north once our truce with them runs out. But in the meantime, between now and then, we'll probably begin our campaigns in the south to unite the final piece of the puzzle in terms of landmass for the Kingdom of the Woods. So, with all that said, I want to thank you guys so much for watching and for sifting through this. I apologize for the lack of the time lapse that I was hoping to get, but I think we managed to get kind of a good idea of what exactly happened. It wasn't really that big of a change. It wasn't like we were adding in a ton of different stuff. We were just kind of fixing the borders of the Southwoods and then also incorporating the Reach and the Golden Grove. So, but like I said, those are bound to change, and we'll go through all those changes in the next episode, as well as introducing a new lord down here in the south, a new High Lord down here in the south, and then a new lord in Old Stones. So it's not going to be House Mud. As much as I like House Mud, it's not going to be House Mud. It'll be a new custom character, and we'll see who that is as well. So I digress. This has been an amazing episode. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you're not already, hit the little bell icon so you get some notifications whenever I upload, which is every weekday. And I hope you guys enjoy. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the next adventure.